Neptunes.
And now stand by for adventure.
3, 2, 1.
In the exciting story of Danger Below. Far out in space, on a tiny ocean-covered planet, lies the lily-pad kingdom of Aqualand. Here, in this beautiful watery world, live the friendly frogmen, curious inhabitants of this curious land. And far below, in the hidden coves of the ocean floor, these little fellows gather the most priceless gems of the galaxies. For only here, in the secret treasure beds of the frogmen, can be found the precious, giant pearls of Aqualand. But no longer is the secret of these rich pearl beds known only to the frogmen. For suddenly, a monstrous shadow looms into view. In sheer terror, the frogmen flee, for this is Octo the Terrible, the blackest, meanest octopus in the sea. Helplessly, the divers watch as this wicked creature carries off load after load of their precious pearls. And so it is that Colonel Bleep, Squeak, and Scratch streak to the aid of the frogmen, arriving just in time to see the thieving culprit scurry off with the last of the gleaming gems. Following closely, the spaceman and his deputies watch amazed as the monster pours the stolen treasure into the hatch of a waiting submarine. Through a porthole of the sub stare the greedy eyes of Dr. Destructo, the mastermind behind this wicked scheme. Little Squeak tosses his lasso with perfect aim and quickly ropes the terrible Octo out of action. But the evil Destructo has already zeroed in on Colonel Bleep. Fire! One! With a mighty roar, a giant torpedo thunders straight for the Colonel. Too late! The spaceman learns his water-soaked atomic energy supply is useless now. Is this the end for Colonel Bleep? How can he possibly escape this terrible fate? But wait! With a mighty leap, Scratch lands astride the deadly missile. In the nick of time, he pulls the rudder, missing the spaceman by only inches. Destructo, now in full retreat, crashes to the surface. But there is no escape. Now dead on his target, Scratch leaps to safety. Not one trace of Destructo's submarine remains. Not one clue to the doctor's fate. Only the gleaming pearls could be seen as they settled back once more to the treasure beds of Aqualand. The frogmen gave 3 rousing cheers, for they had witnessed proof indeed that a man's evil deeds, like a boomerang, have a way of coming back to him. And now stand by for adventure.
3, 2, 1.
In the exciting story of Dangerous Holiday. According to Colonel Bleep, the planets of the universe are filled with exciting sights to see. Squeak and Scratch had already visited such unusual places as Aqualand, the watery world of the curious frogmen, and Robotland, the strange home of the mechanical men who happily work in Great Factory City. But now, the puppet and the caveman were to accompany Bleep for a short holiday on the most wonderful world of all, Bleep's own home planet, Futura, land of the future. Of course, Squeak and Scratch were expecting to have the time of their lives on such an exciting journey. But just as they passed through the rings of Saturn, almost halfway to Futura, our three friends were secretly spotted by a bitter enemy, the vicious Black Knight of Pluto. And so it was that when Bleep and his friends at last reached Futura, they were completely unaware that this cowardly villain was close behind them, like an evil black shadow, ready to strike when danger was least expected. Upon arrival, Colonel Bleep sped off to visit his fellow officers at the High Command headquarters, leaving Squeak and Scratch free to enjoy the glorious sights of this beautiful land. Their tour started on a vertical car which carried them straight to the top of the tallest Futurian skyscraper. But up ahead, the wicked knight was already prepared to send our sightseeing friends plunging to their doom. Just in time, the space deputies stepped to safety, quite unaware of their narrow escape. Once more, the evil knight strikes. And once again, Squeak and Scratch are unknowingly saved. An exciting ride on a speedy sky train turns out to be wonderful fun, in spite of the culprit's devilish scheme to send them spinning down to their death. Yes, to unsuspecting Squeak and Scratch, these Futurian rides were even more fun than the roller coaster back home. The Black Knight shook with rage. But then, suddenly, he saw one more chance. For now, our friends had hopped aboard a steer-it-yourself Skyway scooter. The tiny car rolled smoothly along, but just as the puppet and caveman settled back to relax, away they streak. Down they speed as fast as light, then up to a dizzy height. Over, then under, and back again. The speedometer reads 410. The Black Knight roars with laughter. For now he is sure Squeak and Scratch are doomed. Look! There they go into a loop-de-loop. Now here they come again. But wait! The runaway car is empty. It was empty. For now, the wicked knight is caught in his own trap. Away he goes, 1,000,000 miles beyond the Milky Way. But what has happened to Squeak and Scratch? Well, believe it or not, when the car looped the loop, they were gently transferred to a landing elevator. And there Colonel Bleep was waiting with a Futurian 4-flavor ice cream surprise for each of them. Yes, both Squeak and Scratch agreed that although Futurian ways of travel sometimes seem a trifle strange, the space deputies had never had a more wonderful time. And so it was that the cowardly Black Knight's destruction had turned into a day of fun for Squeak and Scratch. And now stand by for adventure.
3, 2, 1.
In the exciting story of the ingenious invention. Squeak the puppet and Scratch the caveman were ready to try their latest invention. The world's first and only snow machine. Yes, with this ingenious homemade contraption, the two inventors hoped to make it actually snow on tropical 00 Island. Colonel Bleep chuckled silently as he watched his friends proudly prepare for the initial test of their marvelous new machine. While Scratch pumped with all his might, little Squeak crossed his fingers for luck and pushed the magic button. The machine worked fine, except instead of snow, down came a cloud of thick black smoke. The inventors agreed a few small changes would be required to make it snow. Bleep was sorry he couldn't wait to see the results of their second try, but it was already blast-off time for his morning space patrol. And so, wishing his friends good luck, the spaceman sped off on his tour of duty. But only moments later, high above the Earth, the colonel screeched to a halt to listen to a strange space signal. There it was again. 3 short blips, 3 long bleeps, and 3 more blips. This was an urgent SOS. Someone nearby was calling for help. But where was it coming from? And who could it be? Then Bleep spotted a ball-like object racing through space at tremendous speed. This was another test satellite from the planet Earth. And someone or something was calling for help from inside this man-made moon. Meanwhile, back on 00 Island, Squeak and Scratch continued to test their homemade snow machine. Down came a thundering torrent of rain. Then, a shower of giant hailstones. But no snow. Still, the puppet and caveman would not give up. And in desperation, Scratch tossed a box of soap flakes into the contraption. For after all, to a caveman, soap flakes and snowflakes sound and look very much alike. Now, when Scratch pumped the handle and Squeak pushed the button, nothing came out at all except hundreds of giant bubbles, which drifted up through the dome of their island home. At about the same time, Colonel Bleep sprang open the hatch of the Earth satellite. And to his surprise, out popped a dozen puppy dogs and a dozen kittens. These were the frightened passengers who signaled for help. For unless Bleep could save them, they were doomed to spend the rest of their lives speeding through space. But how could the spaceman possibly get so many dogs and cats safely back to Earth? Then Bleep saw them. Dozens of beautiful floating bubbles from the snow machine. Here was a chance not only to save the animals, but to play a wonderful trick on the great inventors. Quickly, the spaceman popped the dogs and cats into the huge bubbles, which, like Bleep's own space helmet, would protect them on the journey back to Earth. And so it was that Squeak and Scratch were amazed to see the bubbles floating back to 00 Island, each carrying a tiny pup or kitten inside. Yes, this was a great day for the inventors, for although the snow machine did not make it snow, it did make it rain cats and dogs. And now stand by for adventure.
3, 2, 1.
In the exciting story of The Invisible Gorilla. Just imagine coconut pie every single day. It all began when Colonel Bleep discovered a secret way to make a powerful rocket fuel from coconut milk. And every nut the Colonel drained for milk also contained the makings for a scrumptious pie for Squeak and Scratch. Jug after jug of fresh coconut flight fuel now lined the shelves of Bleep's laboratory. And with 00 Island's big supply of coconuts, the Colonel was sure his space scooter squadron would never be grounded for lack of this super fuel. But unknown to Bleep, the wicked Dr. Destructo had somehow learned of the Colonel's discovery. Already, the evil doctor has thought up a plan for destroying every single coconut on the island. His secret weapon is Grizzo, the trained gorilla, the hungriest coconut-eating beast in the whole wide universe. For 7 days, Grizzo has not been fed, and for 7 days, the starving gorilla has dreamed of nothing but his favorite food, coconuts. Thousands and thousands of luscious, sweet coconuts.
Come, Grizzo. Are you hungry, Grizzo? Good boy, Grizzo. Today you will eat every juicy coconut on 00 Island. Do you understand, Grizzo? Good boy. But first, we must make you invisible. Aha, good. Now, off you go. And remember, eat every coconut on the island, Grizzo.
The next morning, there was serious trouble on Bleep's island base. Poor Scratch had found only one coconut in the whole jungle. This meant an end to Bleep's rocket fuel discovery. And even worse, to Squeak and Scratch, it meant no more of those luscious coconut pies. With great care, Bleep drained each precious drop of milk from the last remaining coconut and quickly processed it into rocket fuel. With equal care, the puppet prepared their last coconut pie. But in a flash, the pie was gone, leaving a bewildered Scratch holding the empty plate. Sure that the caveman had greedily eaten the whole pie himself, the Colonel ordered Scratch to sit in the corner and not move until the clock chimes 2. While the obedient Scratch sat perfectly still, serving out his punishment, Bleep and Squeak were unaware that an invisible gorilla was the real thief. Then Grizzo struck again. Still, the caveman sat in motionless silence, faithfully following Bleep's unfortunate command. Now, all this activity had given Grizzo a powerful appetite, and he sped off at once to Bleep's laboratory workshop, where he smelled the delicious aroma of coconut milk. At that very moment, Scratch's punishment ended, and the caveman arrived on the scene just in time to see the hungry Grizzo guzzle down jug after jug of Bleep's powerful, bubbling rocket fuel. Scratch blinked in awe. So this was the culprit that caused all the trouble. Silently, the caveman strikes back. Sending Grizzo and his explosive payload straight as a flaming arrow back to his wicked master. Yes, Scratch has saved the day. So, for faithful obedience and heroic service, Bleep promised him a reward. And what prize do you think the caveman chose? Why, a delicious coconut pie.